All right, everybody, welcome to the Joe Pop Podcast, and this is the actual first time that I'm doing it mobile. So this may bomb, it may not, but again, welcome to the Joe Pop Podcast. I'm not sure which episode this is. I'll have to look. It'll be on the cover of the actual episode, but I am happy to say that I've got a buddy of mine, Seth Ewing, a former CAA, former DAGRE, still on active duty, so we can't talk about all the cool stuff that he's done. But he's got some good things going. And not to mention, he's got an outstanding nonprofit that he works on that I think a lot of guys will find really, really beneficial. So, Seth, say hey.
Hey. I'm super glad to be on the podcast, man. Thanks a lot for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to talk about the nonprofit that I started with a bunch of buddies. It's called Aviation Tabletop. It's a nonprofit that is dedicated to preventing veteran suicide by fostering connections through tabletop games. This is our logo here.
Nice.
Those who are watching. And so we use like all tabletop games, whether it be role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons or board games.
Are you hijacking my podcast, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. Hey, this is.
I just get into it, man.
No, you should. That's a good thing. So this is his second time doing a podcast. He did Security Halt with Denny Caballero. Shout out to Denny. If you haven't seen his podcast, I highly encourage you to check it out. He's got some good mental health stuff on there, and just an outstanding individual. But yeah, so he doesn't quite know podcast etiquette. For that fact, I don't think I do either. But hey, anyway, so hey, the way I like to kick these things off is we're going to go ahead and I hate to say cradle to grave because you're not dead yet, but yeah, we're going to start off from the very beginning as to what all has happened to get you to where you are right now. So I like to go back, way back. No smart assery like, oh, the way back to the womb, because I've had guys pull that on me. But no, we're good. So tell me, man, where are you from?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Northern Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, Blue Ridge Mountain area. I didn't really leave that area until I enlisted. Part of enlisting was to get out of there and go see the world because I was just kind of stuck to, the mountains out there. But yeah.
So what are we talking? I guess early 80s for you, right? Because I got you by at least a decade.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was born in the 90s.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, no way.
Yeah. I'm not going to say my birth year.
Holy
I don't want to make you feel even more
Dude,
old.
you're not a chick. I mean, I can ask you, hey, what's your birthday?
Yeah, well, I don't want to share my birthday on, live.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, okay. So anyway, so that being said, what are we looking at when it comes to, really the 90s?
Yeah. Early
Holy
90s.
Cow.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah, you're not going to get my birthday out of me, man. I keep that information close hold.
No, I get it. We don't want your identity to get robbed. People putting together pieces of the puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So what'd your dad do? What'd your mom do?
Yeah, my dad was a metal fabricator. He worked in a factory pretty much the whole time I've ever known him. And my mom worked at a community college. She worked in the science department doing biology stuff.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was cool growing up, So my parents were divorced, but I spent most of my time with my mom, obviously.
When did that happen?
Shoots. Not long after I was born.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't get super traumatic by it. I wasn't 14 when it happened,
Right.
There wasn't a time where I ever remember them being together.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But it was super cool growing up going to the community college where my mom worked and seeing behind the scenes in the science department and stuff.
No, I imagine. I mean, shoot, all the freaking cool toys there. I mean, as it pertains to biology and all that stuff. I used to want to be a marine biology major.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, only one problem. You had to have, I think, calculus up to calculus 2.
Yep,
and yeah, and I've got a condition where I hate freaking math. So yeah, I found that out, and I'm like, no, time to redirect my life and go pursue political science or some crap like that. So, no, freaking cool, man. So okay, so brothers, sisters, what?
Yep. Let's see. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. One of my brothers passed away back in 2017.
Okay.
Which is really kind of the catalyst for starting the nonprofit.
Right.
But yeah, growing up with that many siblings was awesome, man.
I imagine, because one of the things that me growing up, I was an only child, and so my wife calls me spoiled, and maybe she's right, but dude, it sucked growing up as an only child, and so yeah, all my buddies had brothers and all that stuff, and I would hang out with them, and that always just seemed like it was a freaking blast having built-in playmates, if you will.
Yeah.
So, but as you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely. You have, built-in friends, like growing up, and it's funny because, you're friends, with your siblings, but you're also mortal enemies too. Mostly my sister, my older brother, older brother is the one who passed away. They were enemies. Like, they butted heads on everything, and then I was like this third wheel to their fights all the time. I was just kind of in the back, just eating popcorn, watching it happen, and just chilling. I was kind of the baby until my little brother came along, and then my little sister was on my dad's side, so she didn't really grow up in the same household, but she was around. We were whenever we went to my dad's house, and she was there, and that's how we interacted with her. But it was great. Yeah.
Nice, pretty good relationship overall with the little one.
Yeah.
Good.
So I'm 12 years older than my little brother.
Dang.
So it kind of sucks because he kind of grew up as almost like an only child. Because by the time he was old enough to really do anything fun, I was out the door enlisted. So
right.
Yeah, he is a really awesome dude, really smart, and he's really into like the prepping stuff,
Okay, gotcha. Now, did he get that from you, having wanted to join the military or whatever?
I think maybe I think I maybe influenced that a little bit.
Right.
Because I'm pretty, I don't want to say conspiracy theorist, but I like to be prepared in a sense.
I haven't seen a tinfoil hat yet, so I think
yeah.
I think you're okay.
I think I've grown out of it. I think at this point I just I don't care, man. Whatever, just whatever's gonna happen, just happen.
Yeah, I mean, you can't spend your life worrying about necessarily what the future's gonna be, and being someone who's always waiting for the ball to drop. I mean, you got to live your life to some degree, be smart about it. And you being, obviously you being within force protection, security forces, I mean, yeah, you can go down a rat hole with that, as a lot of people do.
Oh yeah, and you can waste a lot of money into prepping and being prepared, and a lot of time and energy, and that you gotta really, time is so finite. You really have to figure out what you want to spend that time on, because if you spend your whole time worrying and prepping for something that may or may not happen, and then it does happen, well, on the back end, you might be prepared for it, but what are you going to do afterwards? Because all your friends and your loved ones probably weren't, and now you're just going to live alone. So
yeah,
it's not worth it.
So school, how were you in school? Decent student, horrible student?
Here and there. I had once I hit high school, I was a little shit ass, man. You know what? I was a shit ass the whole time, really. But really in high school, just hot headed, typical teenage boy. Plus, I grew up during the age of emo music, and so it was super cool to just be whatever about stuff and be kind of like, you know, sad and depressed and just not care.
Right.
So that didn't help either.
A little bit melancholy.
Yeah, a little bit of melancholy. That was my impression of a British person.
Gotcha.
If there's any Brits listening, you know, feel free to punch me in the face. But yeah, so school was okay. I was really great in my vocational ed with engineering and art. I was always really creative.
Okay.
In part due to my mom's encouragement. She's always encouraging me to be creative, because I think she saw that early on in me, and she just kind of, you know, allowed me to just run free and do what I wanted in that realm of creativity. Like, I would make my own board games as a kid, you know.
Nice.
I'd make my own little pieces for card games and stuff too. Like, it was, yeah, I was a nerd. I was a huge nerd.
Now, any sports at all, or no?
Yeah, so my mom would put me in baseball, football, cross country, and so I got a taste of a little bit of all that stuff, all the sports, or the kind of the big ones, which was great, because it gave me a taste of it, enough to realize, hey, I don't like this. I'd rather be playing, you know, board game. I'd rather be playing like card games. And at the time, a big one during the time of I was playing football, Yu-Gi-Oh was a big one. It was like a big card game, and I remember telling my coach, like, yeah, like this was fun and all, but not as fun as playing Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm out, dude.
No, wait a minute. Was Yu-Gi-Oh the one that had? Was Yu-Gi-Oh the one that everybody was collecting and they were, yeah, and they would. Obviously, they were trading cards, but there was actually a significant monetary value to some of these cards. Is that accurate, or am I thinking of something else?
I think there was always some kind of, like in any trading card game, there's some sort of, you know, monetary value to certain cards. Like, oh man, because they're, you know, rarity, like, you know, certain rare cards, like the holographic Charizard is like the iconic card from you know, trading card games.
Right.
I never got that one, unfortunately, but
bring it in just a tad bit, yeah. Because you're like, screen's cutting you in half.
My bad.
So, no, it's good.
But yeah, man.
All right.
What nerd stuff did you do growing up?
Oh, dude, I wasn't in. Well, no, I mean, pretty much. I mean, my life was pretty benign. I mean, you know, I was always had a Tom Sawyer life out in Guam.
Nice.
You know, and so. Yeah, I was always involved in something, you know, some martial arts and all that stuff. I didn't, yeah, through high school, I preferred mainly to have a job instead of, you know, instead of playing football and stuff like that. I wrestled a little bit, not a whole lot, because the program showed up like my senior year of high school, so that I had very little exposure to wrestling. But yeah, I mean, you know, and then I, you know, like you, I mean, me and my buddies, you know, probably on the weekends would get together and play, you know, war games, Axis and Allies, or Risk, or any number of those things, you know. So didn't nerd out too much, but I definitely wasn't a jock or any of that. So, all right, so you're going through high school, you know, probably the status quo student, you know, status quo guy. Just not being well, you said you're being a goof, but not getting in a whole lot of trouble, I would imagine. Just middle of the road.
Yeah.
College, was college an option, or were you going straight in the military?
I had thought about college. I thought about going to Virginia Tech for engineering, but luckily at an early age I was self-aware enough to realize that if I had gone to college, I was just going to be a dropout. In part, you know, big ups on my sister Casey, because at that time she was going through college at Virginia Tech, and I was seeing the amount of stress that it was putting on her. And she's like one of the most hard-charging, you know, smartest people I know. Well, not the smartest, but like she's very dedicated and committed. You know, where some people just have natural intelligence, she has hard work, commitment, dedication to things more than anyone I've ever met.
Right.
And I saw the stress that it was putting on her. I was like, if she can't do it, there's no way that I could stick that out and make it worthwhile. I'd probably be a dropout. So let me do something that I can't quit.
Gotcha.
You know, so that's where the military came in.
So, all right. So, I mean, you got the choice of like 4 different branches you can go into. So, why did why the Air Force? Why not something else?
I'd thought about the Marines because my brother had joined the Marines. He ended up not making it through basic, but I was like, you know what, that sounds super super awesome. I'll be a Marine just because it's hardcore, it's badass, and at the time I was
that's America's favorite cult, dude.
Yeah,
Heck
absolutely.
Yeah.
But what really drew me to the Air Force was my grandfather. He was in the Air Force, and he was one of the best influences on me growing up because I just grew up down the street from my grandparents, just down the road, and we would just cut through the woods and get to their house all the time. And yeah, he was a great influence. So I think that's what kind of drew me to the Air Force.
What did he do in the Air Force?
He was comm.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he did about, I think, 6 years.
Okay.
And then he got out, and then he worked for the government for another, lifetime. And
So would that have been Vietnam era that he served, or?
no, I think just before.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Gotcha.
before. I think he got out just before all that.
All right.
Yeah.
So why security forces? Of all the things you could have done, you chose security forces,
Yeah.
which for both of us, I mean, I wouldn't recommend anybody do security forces unless you really want to move on and become, a law enforcement officer, or maybe, pave the way to joining the feds or whatever. But I mean, me and you been fortunate to end up where we turned out at. But why security forces of all the things you could do?
Yeah, I think security forces chose me. I know that sounds really weird, but
Is that saying, did you fail out of something?
Yeah.
No way.
Kinda. I didn't fail.
Okay.
What happened is
I'm not trying to poke fun.
No, it's no. Please do, because all right. All
right, go ahead, man.
I'll be real with you, dude. So what happened is I went to MEPS to do my medical eval for a different job. I think it was aerospace ground equipment was going to be my initial job, but they DQ'd me because I had like cystic acne, and they're like, no, you can't. So I lost my departure date for MEPS.
Wow.
For that, over acne, yeah. I had
but
really
who
bad
wants
acne
to
when I
be
was at
aged,
school.
dude?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was just interested. Didn't know too much about it. I was just interested in doing like some sort of maintenance.
Right.
Initially wanted to do like be a maintainer on a helicopter.
That would have been cool.
That would have been super sick. But whenever that happened, I talked to my recruiter, and he was like, well, we got a date for security forces. And I was like, sign me up, dude. I'm just
sucker.
Yeah, so it chose me at that point. And I'm glad. I've had a really fortunate career. I've met some great people in this career field, and I owe a lot to the Air Force for even taking a chance on me and giving me a job, because if they hadn't, I don't know where I'd be. Like, because I grew up in a really poor, small town. I don't know what I would have done if I couldn't have joined the Air Force,
Gotcha.
I would have had to go back to the Marines, and then, that wouldn't have worked out very well. My ass in the Marines? Nah. They would have kicked me out or something.
So you join up security forces. Dang, dude. So when did you go through the academy?
2010. Yeah, I think I joined. I think I turned 19 just as I was going through tech school.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So I've been in about 14 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you go through Security Forces Academy. What was your first duty station?
Albuquerque.
Oh, really?
So Kirtland, yeah.
Now I've never been to Kirtland, but I did get stuck at Holloman, and I did some MQT stuff out of some mission qualification training out of Cannon. So all in all, I mean, it was basically back in that other life when I was doing RPAs for about 5 years. remotely piloted aircraft for MQ-1s and MQ-9s. And I tell you what, New Mexico, that's a cool state, dude.
Yeah.
Especially if you're an outdoorsman, all the stuff you can do.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
New Mexico's great.
Yeah, it is. Now, I can't attest, I mean, cannons, to be stuck out of cannons, you know how it goes. It's what you make it. But cannons out in the middle of nowhere. And Alamogordo down there at Holloman, that was kind of nice because you had white sands there. You had the mountains, and so my New Mexico experience was pretty legit. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. Albuquerque is a beautiful town. So it's a city, but it has a small town feel is what they like to say, and I think it's true, which was a good transition from somebody who was grew up in a really rural area. Albuquerque felt like a huge city to me, but looking back, I'm like, no, it definitely had like the small town vibe. But yeah, the Sandia Mountains are beautiful, and it was just really cool, and I was super fortunate to get to spend some time there. I saw my first dead body there, so that was really interesting.
Oh, what's the story behind that, man?
Oh yeah, man. I was driving back to base one night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just saw this, body in the street, and I'm like, yeah, that guy's definitely dead. And just up the road was a cop doing a traffic stop, and so I roll up and I roll my window down. I was like, hey, officer, and he's like, what? I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a dead body in the road back there, and this is how you know APD Albuquerque Police Department just deals with some shit, because he just goes, all right.
Oh man,
he's just finished his ticket and then called it in.
So like, how far back was it from where he had?
He didn't question me at all either. He wasn't like, oh, come over here and let's talk about it. No, he's just like, go on, and I'll go figure it out.
Wow. I mean, are we talking 50 yards, 100 yards?
Yeah, it's like 100 yards.
Dang.
Yeah.
And any word ever as to what had happened?
Nah, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't follow up with it. No, I didn't check the news or anything. Yeah.
So So how did? What were your thoughts on that?
I was like, oh wow, this place is a little bit more dangerous than I expected.
I remember there used to be a big, a lot of gang violence out there, which, I mean, any city's going to have its issues, but yeah. So dang. So like, did you like slow roll it? Just slow down, look out the window, and.
Oh yeah. I slow rolled. I was like, oh yeah, that dude is dead.
And the jacked up thing is obviously it's not a laughing matter.
No, definitely not.
With days in the military and all that stuff, our sense of humor is less than, So pretty macabre at times, but dang, man, that's that's crazy. I think the first dead body I ever saw was when my grandfather passed.
Yeah.
So pretty.
How old were you?
Oh shoot, I was in my. I was in my 30s. So never really had to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And as I think the majority of America is, hey, first dead body you see is either when you're deployed, or to a war zone, or a family member passing away. But anyway, all right. So
mine was in a different war zone.
The
Albuquerque war zone.
Yeah. All right. So so Albuquerque. Where did you go after that? And what did you do? I mean, was it mainly security? Was it LE? What was it?
It was security. Yeah.
Okay.
After that, I went to England, and that's where I did the DAGRE thing for a little bit.
Nice.
That was an experience, man. Looking back, I think I took it for granted, but it was definitely an awesome experience.
So what years was that?
That was 13 to 16.
Was that when McQuiggan was out there?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Oh, MQ.
Yeah.
Shout out to MQ.
Yeah, old Mike.
Yeah, he's a first sergeant now.
Oh, really? Where is he?
He's
Well, it's not safe.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's walked away from that life. He's doing, like I said, first sergeant work. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, nice guy.
What? Okay, so so you're out there with him, and what what did you find was what was the best part of being stationed out there?
Man, the travel. Yeah, just getting to see Europe was awesome. And I was pretty young. I didn't have a lot of money. It was early on in my career, and but what money I did have, my wife Jenna and I would spend it to travel. We went to Belgium.
Well, wait a minute. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're jumping past some important things here.
Oh, okay.
So you so when did you get married?
2013.
Okay, so did you
Yeah.
meet her over there, or where?
No, I met her in Albuquerque,
Okay,
and then
you can't leave out your better half, dude. Come on now.
I mean, I knew that I was eventually going to marry that woman. I was eventually going to marry her because she's awesome, and I'm glad I did. I initially, so this is kind of messed up story, but not really. But I got out to England, and we were moving the ball towards getting her out there, and we were going to get married. And when she got out there, I started getting cold feet. And I started getting cold feet, and she had already sold everything, man, and like moved out there to be with me. I was just scared, and she was like, "Nah, homie, we're doing this." And I was like, "All right, Ben, okay." You're right. I don't know what I'm thinking. So now that's the kind of that's a testament to the kind of woman she is. She's great, dude. She's very assertive, and yeah, I find that very attractive about her. Yeah.
Oh man, you're almost that guy.
Oh, dude, I was almost that guy, and I'm glad I wasn't, because that would have been the biggest mistake. I don't know where I'd be without her, and I don't think I'd ever would have.
Well, plus when you got a woman who's dropped everything and relocated her life, dude, dudes
100%.
are. Let's face it, if we're not careful, our default is tool. And a lot of young ladies pay the price for men and their indecisions or their lack of commitment.
Yeah, so if that story is, anybody listening can help them out, or if there's like a young man listening to that, if you make a commitment, stick to it.
Yeah.
Stick to it. Unless there's something that, obviously really wrong that happened that needs to change. But always keep your commitments.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so you get out to England, you get to travel a bit. That was a little bit before the whole Brexit thing.
Yeah.
So I imagine it's pretty easy going back and forth, travel-wise, right?
Oh yeah. So Ryanair, we went to Mykonos, Greece, and we went to Belgium. We went to Edinburgh, Scotland. That was probably one of our favorites as well.
Okay.
That's an awesome, for anyone who's overseas, like, check out Edinburgh. That city's great, man. The castle up there.
Oh yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
All right, so you end up. How'd the whole DAGRE thing pop up for you?
It was just in an ad, like on the portal. Just clicked it. As a long shot. I'm like, I'm not going to get this job.
Now, you weren't over there under AVSOC. You were over there on the conventional side, right?
No, I was over there. I was at Mildenhall AVSOC. So I got picked up for the job while I was in New Mexico, and then I flew out there, was assigned to the section, and then I flew back to the States to go through the qual.
Okay, gotcha. How long was the qual at that point?
I think it was 2 months. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was like 2 months.
Yeah, it seems to have. I think it seems to have hovered between. Oh shoot! I think it's hovered between 10 weeks down to, I think, as little as 6 or 8. Then back, and it's fluctuated in there, from time to time. But nice. So you're over there for how long, and then you're going over through the pipeline?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember how long it was before I went. Was over there before they got me a spot and to the pipeline. But after, man, they're doing lots of construction, huh?
Yeah, they are.
Yes. After the pipeline, spent my time over there in England, traveling, doing the thing, And then, obviously, like all good things, it kind of has to come to an end. And I came back to the States, and I was in Louisiana, Shreveport area, at Barksdale. And that was interesting, just doing law enforcement. And that was super cool to just, see that side of the career field.
Yeah, so what was
Have you had a chance to do that?
No, I was fortunate that I was able to duck law enforcement duty quite a bit. And being an AGR, Air Reserve technician, and all that stuff, a lot of times you get stuck as the admin rat, because you're the continuity of the reserve unit, you and your assistant. And so yeah, at Duke Field we didn't have designated LE duties. We had a combat mission, security wise. So yeah, that fortunately for me, because I didn't have an interest in it, never really popped up. Some guys love it. I just had really didn't have the ambition to pursue that, nor was I in a unit that facilitated that. So now, while you were back in Mildenhall before you got to go to the pipeline, how was life as because you were basically an apprentice at that point, right, for DAGRE?
Yeah.
Yeah. How was life as an apprentice?
It was good.
You didn't get heckled too much?
Not too much. I feel like we were pretty close knit over there. No, I don't think any of the older guys really gave us too much shit. They definitely made sure that we were prepared before leaving, so that was good.
Nice.
But yeah, it wasn't too bad. Everyone kind of, I feel like by the time I got over there, a lot of the hazing and stuff was starting to get out of the Air Force.
Right.
So, yeah, that was like almost not appropriate anymore.
Yeah, which I think is
like 2010, 11, 12. Yeah, you definitely would have faced a lot of hazing.
Right.
But 13 on, it started to really die down a little bit.
Yeah. And there's some good and bad to that. I mean, my whole career was spent, from my days in the Army, and there's always some measure of of hazing, if you will. But I think it's got its place. But yeah, some people just they don't want any part of that. So I get it, But
yeah.
But it's a good tool for building camaraderie, as long as guys don't go over the top with it and get stupid with it,
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, so you head to Barksdale. Never really, I went out to Shreveport, but never hit the base out there. Had a couple buddies get stationed out there, but so you're out there at Barksdale doing LE. How'd you like that?
I didn't mind it. I liked doing law enforcement. It was cool to be a part of the community, like the base community, almost that classic police officer vibe, like where you're part of the community. But just like anything else, it is what you make it. And I say that because some dudes will go over the top and just really hound on the laws and stuff on the base and pull people over for the dumbest stuff, like running just California rolling a stop sign or going 5 over, and that's we're all there to do the same mission. So,
yeah.
Why would you hem up people? Give them, revocate their driving privileges on base, because that hinders the mission, dude. Because now it's putting stress on their teammates to have to come and pick them up at the gate every day.
Yeah.
So you got to be, have that kind of mindset going into it, and I like that. I like just pulling people over and being like, look, man, you know what you did wrong. I'm not gonna give you a ticket unless they were A, they were huge assholes, or B, they had a lot of stuff wrong, like they didn't have a driver's license or insurance, because that's really what it is. You use that stuff as a probable cause to pull people over, and then you see what if anything is going on. But,
right.
Yeah, just any law enforcement officers listening, it's it's pretty much how it works. But not that security forces is comparable to civilian law enforcement, I mean, its training and education is very similar, but as far as the day-to-day job, it's very different. And so, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I don't think I would have made a good cop on the outside. I think I was fortunate to deal with military people.
Right.
But if I had to deal with people in the civilian sector, you know, kudos to civilian cops, man. Like, having to put up with the types of people that they have to put up with, I don't know how you do it, man. Mad respect to cops.
No,
sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, are they perfect? No. You know,
no one is, though, you know.
But yeah, well, good stuff, man. What coolest LE story that you had? Craziest LE story, I guess.
I don't have one.
You're kidding me, man.
I'm not, man. I had a very chill experience. Yeah, I didn't really do anything crazy.
What about just a dumb airman story?
Dumb airman story. Man, put me on the spot. I try to reach into my file cabinet,
the data bank.
Yeah, and trying to think like what is out there. Like what did I do? Oh, I wasn't a part of this, but I'm going to share it because it's hilarious. We had a train. So by the base is a railroad track, and one day, a naked dwarf, little person. I'm trying to be politically correct. You know, I'm a '90s kid. I grew up with, you know, not being politically correct. Snuck through the gate. Like, he was able to squeeze through the fence. He was butt naked. And whenever the dudes like got him, you know, arrested him, they asked him like, "Hey man, like, where'd you come from?" They're like, "Oh, I just go where the wind blows," you know. And apparently he jumped off of the train, and that's how, like, right there, and then came onto the base.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, that would. Yeah, how do you deal with that?
I don't know, man, but that's like a daily occurrence in Okaloosa County, you know.
Oh yeah, there's always something.
Some meth
going
head that's
on.
naked running around somewhere.
Dude, that's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
A dwarf.
But yeah, no, seriously,
Naked dwarf.
I didn't have like any crazy stories, man. Like, nothing worth noting or noteworthy. Yeah, nothing.
All right, so you're at Barksdale. What's the next move after that?
Combat Aviation Advisor.
Okay, yeah. How'd you come to know about that?
A really good friend of mine told me about it. He was like, "Hey man, I think you'd be good. I think this would be a good fit for you." And so I looked into it, saw the application process, you know, worked on the application for months, making sure that it had people review it and read appropriately, and submitted it, and surprisingly got an invite to the assessment and selection, and even more surprisingly, they hired me. Like, it's the same with DAGRE. I was like, there's no way I'm getting this job, you know?
Right.
Like, yeah, being around those dudes who were like super smart, I felt like I didn't belong, but no, man, they picked me up, and I was very fortunate to be picked up for the job.
What's your coolest story from assessment?
From assessment, okay, the psychologist tells this story sometimes too. I don't want to say her name, but she's awesome.
Gotcha.
She knows who she is.
I think I know who you're talking about, yeah.
And when we were doing one of the like physical events, you know, I picked this up while I was at DAGRE. Actually, one of the team members would do this all the time, and it stuck with me. Is whenever shit was just like grueling and you had to grind through it, just, you know, repeat the little song, or just sing the little song from Finding Nemo, where Dory's just keep swimming.
Right.
And I was just doing that. I just tuned out and I was just singing that song. And then, you know, before we knew it, it was over. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that really helped. And she thought that was really funny, because obviously it's a, you know, children's movie.
Right.
We're out here at a, you know, soft selection, but and then the other funny one was we weren't, we had to do a little speech or whatever. And I had taken notes on a piece of paper and like stuck it in my hand so I could like read it, you know, and like refer back to it. And, you know, they were like, hey, who said that you could have notes? I was like, no one said that I couldn't have notes.
Nice, good answer.
And whenever I got to the unit, my supervisor was like, you're that freaking guy that said no one said I couldn't have notes. We all laughed about that afterwards.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure you got the freaking just, you know, the stern stares to...
Yeah, not to like divulge too much about it, even though it doesn't exist anymore. It's, you know, but yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. So that was, those were the two big ones, two big stories I took away with that.
Yeah. So we've referenced the acronym DAGRE quite a bit, and my apologies to you know to people that aren't aware that's a deployed air ground response element. So basically, making sure I'm not missing any turns here. The joys of doing a mobile podcast on the road, but yeah. So anyway, as we mentioned that, you know, it's just a I don't want to say it's a shred of security forces, but it's definitely an upper echelon of flyaway security that's SOCOM funded. But so when I throw these when we throw these acronyms out, I apologize if we don't take the time to define those. But anyway, to get back on track, so you make it through the pipeline. What first deployment? What are you looking at? Where are you going?
I'd rather not say.
Okay.
But
that's fair. I mean,
yeah. Just because I'm still active, I'd rather not talk about the deployments and stuff.
Gotcha. I'll leave it at and if you want to expound beyond this, it was definitely a shifting gears when it comes to going out and, you know, with a large footprint compared to going out as a combat aviation advisor or a CAA, and you're looking at, you know, anywhere from 8 to maybe 18 individuals. That was definitely, I definitely liked the small team concept. It was so much better. The freedom, the ability to go out and really get some good work done without a lot of bureaucracy, without any bureaucracy, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Absolutely, being able to be a part of a team of, you know, specialized individuals that are, you know, top of their game in their career fields, and then learning from them, and, you know, everyone is able to do portions of each other's job, and we all share the workload, and it was really a great experience. Now, granted, you know, you do still suffer the typical deployment issues, you know, when you're downrange,
right?
You know, when you're, you know, this forming, storming, norming, all that stuff. We would be dipping in and out of storming all the time, especially, and, you know, this is why I don't play Monopoly anymore. But yeah.
So, all right. So, and this gets us to the meat and potatoes of our interview here. So, so you had a pretty catastrophic loss there towards the end of your tenure as a CAA. You want to go ahead and talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, it was actually before I became a CAA that I lost my brother. That was in 2017, and that's what kind of pushed me to go for CAA.
Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, just like any other dude would do, to cover up his emotions, is just bury himself in work, and it works, you know, because it does work. It distracts you, but the problem
absolutely.
is the problem is that you're not addressing the underlying issue, which is, dealing with grief and guilt for, losing a loved one.
Pause it. Another joy about doing a mobile podcast is sometimes you just take a wrong turn. So anyway, we are back on track. And all right, so once again, you're talking about your brother. So sorry to cut you off on that one.
No, you're good. We have to get back on track in more ways than one. No. So yeah, I lost my brother, and I was dealing with a lot of guilt with that. And because the night that he committed suicide, I had posted something on Instagram, and he had liked it. And I saw it, and I was like, oh man, I should call him. But it was like, I was in Wyoming at the time. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock, I think.
Right.
At the time, which would have put it at like 10 or 11 his time. I was like, no, it's a little late. I'll call him tomorrow while I'm driving into Colorado.
Gotcha.
And, I didn't call him, obviously, and he had committed suicide that night. And I beat myself up about it really hard. And I didn't, I think the first time I buried that really deep. I didn't share it for a long time.
Right.
I think I just told my wife not too long ago.
Okay.
And so it's really starting to share this stuff now. And so when I was dealing with that, I put all my focus into work, and that's what drove me towards CAA.
Okay.
And worked really hard to get there, through assessment and everything. And then once you get picked up, you still have a lot of work to do. It's like a year-long pipeline. So, and the motto was the most committed wins.
Right.
That, and so I was committed to learning and going through that pipeline. And the veneer of that I'd kind of crafted for myself was shattered after the 6 kind of went away. And I'm not here to talk about those decisions that were made or whatever. It's it's not my business,
right,
to talk about that. But after it went away, the reason why it's important is because that's what I was using as my identity to cover up, and put a stopper on that bottle that I had put all my emotions in.
Right.
And so that once that cork was out, it was all started coming back, and I started dealing with lots of anxiety and depression, and that guilt was really starting to come back. And luckily I sought some help, but not before I started getting addicted to new things that were distractions, and not the good stuff either, like video games, alcohol. I was drinking alcohol every day, and not beer, but like whiskey and bourbon.
Right.
And bourbon, and I was consuming lots of pornography as well. The unholy trinity, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it. And that will send you into a mad downward spiral real quick if you're not careful. But luckily, I was able to recognize, like, okay, this isn't good, and also luckily what helped me recognize that was my wife, because she was like, hey, you are drinking every day, you're playing video games all the time, and you're just, she was concerned about me.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need to be a man and figure out how to fix myself in order for the sake of me, but also for the sake of my marriage, because as a man, that's your responsibility to take care of your family. So I sought some help, and about that time or just a little bit before that, I already had the idea for that, the nonprofit.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
That it's especially for guys, that are in the military, and not just soft bubbas, but or special operations guys. But it's so easy to, our job becomes our identity, and it's so easy to get lost in it, and to use it to kind of bury the things that are inconvenient, or the tragic things that happen in life. That being said, it's one of those things also to where I caution people out there to be careful not to take on the weight of decisions that other people make. It's easy to what if something and say, well, hey, if I had just done this, or if I had just done that, it would have changed everything. And that's a lie we tend to tell ourselves. And so I encourage you, and hopefully you've been able to process this, and other people out there too that have dealt with the tragedy of suicide, that there's probably not enough things that could have been done to have dissuaded that. And it's not fair to you to take on that burden to say, hey, if I had only done this, if I had only done that, maybe things would have been different. So for those of you that are out there that have suffered that, my uncle had committed suicide, and my mother, when my mother was small or younger, and she lived a lifetime of hurt and angst and pain because it's devastating. And so the ramifications of living through that far exceed what that person would ever want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, man. I've come to terms with it. I don't really, beat myself up anymore. It's still something I think about. Like, man, if I had called him, but, he had made up his mind, and, I don't know if I would have been able to do anything.
Yeah. But
it was all the classic signs, though. So when you go through the suicide prevention training, and they say, oh, somebody's dealing with suicide, these are the indicators you might see, like people giving their stuff away and things like that. Like, he had done that. When he came to visit me when we were in England, when I saw him, I was like, oh man, I really like your shirt, dude. It was like a Samuel Adams shirt or something like that. And I just compliment on his shirt. And then the day that he left to go back to the States, he had given me his shirt.
Oh, wow.
That should have been red flag right there. Like, why would you give me your shirt? Like,
right.
And there's just something wasn't right with him. Like, he was sad, and I just didn't put. And then I did the classic thing of dismissing it, right? Like, oh, not my bro. Like, he'll be all right. He's a tough dude. And it's so the reason I say that is because take your suicide prevention training seriously, because you might just blow it off and be like, I was young at the time, but you might just blow it off and be like, it's whatever, it'll be fine, it's not gonna happen to me. It will. It's just a matter of time. And if you're not careful, you'll miss those indicators, or you'll dismiss it. And I want people to be able to learn from my experience of,
So, all right, so that happens, and obviously a life-altering moment, to say the least. But it gives you this idea of this nonprofit. So go into that a little bit as to how that started coming about. Because we know that nowadays, especially in the DoD, every time, and I hate to assume the worst, but every time I see a unit patch and a black band across it, it's become so commonplace to think, wow, I hope to God this guy didn't kill himself, or this young lady. And the epidemic, let's face it, the epidemic of suicide within the veteran community, within the active duty community, is significant, and it's legit, and and it's just heartbreaking to see, time after time after time where this is happening. So that being said, what was the logic behind behind doing your nonprofit?
Yeah, I was following I still follow. It's called the Brave Badge Initiative. They report on security forces deaths, and it was 2021, I believe, and it's just constant. Like, it was almost like it was monthly. They were posting badges with the bar through it, and it was suicide, all of them, losing their battle with mental health. And so there was that piece, there's the piece with my brother, and so it really drove me to be passionate about mental health, but also at the same time I was really passionate about tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons and Call of Cthulhu, and that during the darkest times of my life, that storytelling and that adventure kind of became a lifeline that I didn't really even realize I needed. It was just kind of there, and it kept me grounded, and that's what helped me start the upward spiral to start getting help too. Because if I didn't have that, I probably would have been okay because I had my wife Jenna, and she would have taken care of me. But if I didn't have Jenna or that, I'd probably still be spiraling downwards. So between those two things, that help kickstart the upward spiral. But a lot of it is being intentional and doing the work yourself. You have to recognize, hey, this is an issue, I need to fix it, and working on yourself. And so that was helpful as well. But what helped me, or what kind of led me to the nonprofit decision, was that passion of games and veteran suicide, prevention, and seeing how they could be added, like combined to help people.
Right.
So, started doing a mission analysis on it with the team, and I stumbled across an article talking about a doctor that was with the VA. His name was Dr. Jared Kilmer, super great guy. We just did a Twitch stream with him talking about how tabletop games can help people in this space. And he was using Dungeons & Dragons as a therapy tool, because he's a clinical psychologist, and he was using it as a therapy tool for veterans who had PTSD.
Okay.
And anxiety and depression. And so I was like, boom, evidence-based, there you go. There's something to this. It makes sense. It does work. Obviously, we're not clinicians, and so we can't provide the therapeutic tools that he implemented through there. But he's also stated that just the act of playing the game is therapeutic. It's like group therapy.
Yeah.
And so
I can see that.
Yeah, so that validated it, and we're like, and it came at a critical time of, after the unit closed down, lost that sense of purpose. I was looking for a new sense of purpose, which was Operation Tabletop, and I latched onto that to kind of be the new cork to my bottled up emotions. But I hadn't addressed the main issue, which was, the loss of my brother. I was restarting the cycle of just burying it. I hadn't fixed myself before I started Operation Tabletop. I fixed myself while I was starting Operation Tabletop, because I was like, you know what, I got to practice what I'm preaching here. If I'm going to be doing this, I have to fix myself. And I started using some resources and got some help.
Gotcha.
And, I'm doing awesome. I feel great. I've got a sense of purpose, a new identity, as a nonprofit leader, and a community of awesome people, just where the veteran and the tabletop community kind of like collides. It has this great, it's a great combo of just good dudes.
Right. I think we had talked about this before. I had, men are great regardless of whether you're soft, conventional military, first responders, just guys in general. are notorious for burying their traumas, and I heard it was eloquently put. I think I got it off another podcast, but basically we're burying the seeds of our own destruction. We're pushing those things down so that we don't have to deal with them, and we're not addressing them, and they tend to grow, get out of control, and as a result, you get this mental health crisis that we're seeing, come to bear, and what a sad state of affairs. So I think the big thing also, like you were saying, is seeking out the help.
Yeah, you have to be intentional.
Yeah,
you have to have some. If someone's giving you a hand out to like help you up or refer you to a place, you gotta take it and go and want to get help and want to change and stop being depressed or stop having anxiety and fix it.
Well, and nowadays it's so much better than when I had first joined. I joined back in '90, and anything remotely associated with mental health, depression or anxiety, and you were going to lose your clearance, hey, suck it up, man up, all that BS. And nowadays it's so much better with people acknowledging, trauma, whether it's from the battlefield all the way to trauma that you might have dealt with before your time in the military. People's eyes are finally opened, if you will, and so it's not the scourge that it used to be. And people, if they're being honest, know, hey, everybody's dealing with something. So definitely going and seeing a counselor or whatever is not a career ender like it used to be. So yeah. All right. So making sure you're taking care of yourself. Obviously, the community of, you said Tabletop, right?
Yep. Tabletop community. People who just like to unplug and go more archaic with their gaming. Sitting at the table playing board games or role-playing games, like the classic one, Dungeons and Dragons, or Call of Cthulhu, are great games.
Right.
Yeah. But it's like the social aspect of role-playing a character is, it's therapeutic, man. Well,
yeah. I mean, you're building a tribe. If you've lost your tribe or whatever,
yeah.
In our case, combat aviation advisors being dismantled. A lot of guys, they hook they hang their hat on that identity. And rightfully so. I mean, to some degree. I mean, hey, it was quite an accomplishment for us. A lot of pride. But once again, when you lose that community and you go back to the status quo or whatever you want to call it, I mean, you've got to have community somewhere. And so this seems to be a great catalyst for rebuilding your community, rebuilding your tribe. Not to be cliche about it, but no, that's awesome. When you first mentioned it, and you mentioned the D&D part, I mean, obviously I laughed, but no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
That hey, these are the kinds of things that galvanize people, that provide community, friendships, and and keep people from isolating themselves, if you will.
Yeah, that's the big one, is keep people from isolating. If we can, entice people to come to the table that are, who are isolating themselves, that gives us a chance to insulate them. It's just like personal recovery, you want to find that isolated person, you want to insulate them, but yeah, so we want to insulate that person and give them a community, and from there, if we have peer supporters who can identify those indicators of that something might be going on, and then refer them to higher level help. Because again, none of us are therapists. We're not, when you come to a game, you're not there to be therapized,
Yeah.
You're there to just have fun, man, and it is what it is. And if someone recognizes that you do something in a game, right, like an indicator that you might be dealing with some stuff, talks to them offline after the game, and says, hey man, I noticed, based off of these indicators or whatever, I noticed you might be going through some stuff, and then whittling that down, having the conversation, building that rapport, and then eventually getting to the question like, hey man, are you thinking about committing suicide? Asking that difficult question and getting them help.
There's so much to be said about developing relationships, and people are a lot more, and it goes both ways. People are more open to recommendations. Hey, you know what? Gee, Seth, I've been having a hard time, and you know what? I went and I saw a therapist about it. And you know what? I'm feeling a lot better. And so the barriers or the resistance to that, might come down a little bit, and maybe people will consider it. And then some guys are wired the other way. Hey, you know what? I randomly heard about this guy. I figured, what the heck? I'll go chat with somebody. But no, that's awesome. So where can people reach out to you and find out more about about tabletop?
Yeah, man. So if you're interested in tabletop games and you're a veteran, you can hit us up at operationtabletop.org. On the website, there's a join the community link, and then you go click on that, and then you click on Discord, our Discord link, and that'll link you up with the community. And inside of the Discord is really where everything's going down. That's where people are setting up games and connecting with each other. And it's not just games, but like people will post memes and pictures of their pets and their workouts, whatever. Just to have people to talk to and have a shared interest in a passion for tabletop games, man. And right now we're doing all month long. We're doing an awareness event.
Okay.
Have I told you about that yet?
You mentioned June is what?
June is PTSD Awareness Month.
Okay.
It's also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month as well. That guy just about killed us.
Always some guy trying to do a freaking kamikaze. What a knothead, man.
Man, he got one car ahead.
I know. It's like, dude, we're like 200 yards apart.
Jeez.
Maybe, yeah.
That's pretty close. Hopefully he's okay, man.
Maybe 100 yards.
Maybe he's got something going on.
I guess so. As you were saying, so once again, after that rude interruption.
That near-death experience. So it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. It is PTSD Awareness Month as well. And every Saturday in June, we're doing a game, some tabletop game. So last Saturday, it was Dungeons & Dragons. This Saturday, it's Call of Cthulhu. Next Saturday, I believe it's Catan. We got Candela Obscura coming up too, and that's going to be game mastered by North Wolf 911, a great Twitch streamer that we partnered with, professional GM, great dude.
Really?
Yeah, he's super cool.
I mean, I don't know the guy, but that's pretty cool that you're getting some big names out of the gaming community on that.
Oh yeah, dude. That was like a huge win. And you know what's funny about the story is that, like, I was deployed with his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law is a CAA.
Really?
And he linked us up. He was like, "Hey man, I know you got this nonprofit going on. My brother-in-law is a Twitch streamer. You guys should talk." Because he's a vet too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we hit it off, and yeah, it's been great. And being linked in with him has been awesome because he's the linking chain to all the other networking pieces of the tabletop community.
Okay.
You know, I've met some other great folks through him, such as James from Tabletop Misfits, who's been hosting some of our roundtable discussions with Dr. Kilmer was one of them.
Okay.
And yeah, that's been great. And he is doing the charity arm of our awareness event. So Operation Tabletop is just focusing on spreading awareness and executing our mission, which is to give vets a space to play games, right? Well, North Wolf is he has brought together a bunch of collaborators in the Twitch streaming and content creator space that he knows to fundraise for us for this event. And he's also fundraising for Wounded Warrior Project. It's like a dual combo fundraiser.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty great, man, that he's doing that for sure.
Gotcha. So social media, you got your social media?
Yes. So Instagram, Operation_Tabletop, and then we have Facebook Operation Tabletop. We now have a Threads account. If I have to create one more social media account, man, I'm gonna lose my mind. Have you heard about Threads?
No, I haven't,
dude.
In fact, this is the first I've heard about it. So
Threads is just Instagram's version of Twitter.
Okay.
But Instagram already had the platform to post things like a thread, right?
Right.
So what? I just don't get it, man. Like, why don't just Instagram just do Instagram things? You know, and like, why did they have to create this whole other product, or app? And so now I have to be on that for other reasons, you know?
Right.
That's my least favorite part about being a nonprofit leader is having to have a huge social media presence and be savvy with all that stuff.
Right.
Because I would rather just be executing the mission, dude. Like, I'd rather just be playing the games with the folks and setting that stuff up. But anyway, I am going off on a tangent about social media.
You're good, man.
And my opinions about it.
So
we do not have TikTok. We will never have TikTok for obvious reasons.
So Instagram and Threads.
Instagram, Threads, and Facebook.
And
we have a website.
Dude, I haven't even. Oh, say that again because I talked over you.
OperationTabletop.org is the website.
Gotcha. Dude, I don't think. I need to stop slacking and get on Facebook and check out your page.
Yeah, man, share it up, dude.
My apologies for not doing that.
No worries.
So yeah, we'll make that happen. So, all right, man. Any closing thoughts? Any alibis?
Yeah, I think I really want to say thank you to you, Joe, for having me on and allowing me to have this platform to share my story and my background. I really hope that anyone who's listening can learn from it. And if you're dealing with any internal struggles, you're dealing with anxiety, depression, trauma, take care of yourself. Go get some help and find a community, because you can go get help, but if you're not, finding your tribe, as it were, then you're likely to stumble back into those old ways. You got to find people and surround yourself with good people, man.
No, absolutely. And usually when I do these podcasts, they're off the cuff. I don't edit them. They're I wasn't prepared in that I didn't. Usually I stay away from mental health issues because I feel so ill-equipped to talk about them, and I am. But on your phone, look up the what's the suicide hotline?
Oh, it's 988 if you're
988.
a veteran. 988, and then dial 1, and that'll put you. If you're a veteran in crisis, that'll put you in contact with a specialist.
All right. Yeah. So 988, option 1.
Yep.
I'm glad you knew that off the top of your head because I thought it was 988, but I couldn't remember. So.
Yep.
No, hey, you know what? For my very few followers out there, it's been 6 months since I posted something. My apologies. I'm trying to revitalize the Joe Pa podcast. One of the things that I really enjoy is I think fact is better than fiction. So I enjoy real life experiences versus those that are contrived or conjured up. Not to say they're not a pleasant escape, but when I get to talk to guys like Seth and other cats out there, once again, I just think real life is just so much more amazing than what we can conjure up with our imaginations. So, Seth, awesome having you on here. To the crew out there that's being patient and following me, hey, thanks for your support. By all means, get out there on joepodpodcast@gmail.com. Leave your comments. This will be the first episode I put to YouTube, and this one will also be on Spotify. So, once again, thank you for your support, and God bless you guys. Be safe out there, and until next time, you guys take care.